Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness. I am LZ, and I am here with Nick. And today, our special guest is Brandon Steiner, founder of Steiner Sports, who was acquired by Fanatics that you might know about. And he is now the founder and CEO of Collectibles Exchange and Star Stock. And not only that, but he's a host of an ESPN radio show, and he's a host of an eBay Live show as well. So, Brandon, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Love the trading cards. Always been to trading cards since I'm a kid, and I'm only really becoming fully knowledgeable over the last 4 or 5 years and trying to keep up with things moving very quickly out there. And
Right.
I can appreciate you guys having a conversation about trading cards often. The business now warrants it, and hopefully we're getting the record straight about it. I'm hoping that people are able to go and have fun with it, because that's what they're supposed to be meant to do. And sometimes I worry about it, but yeah, I think it's amazing
Great.
what's going on with this business, and you're right in the middle of it. So good for you.
Excellent. So, Brandon, you're like a legend. Steiner Sports. I mean, that's like 40 years, right? It's a
Yeah,
pretty old company.
I mean, just to set the record straight, because it seems like that's how you guys roll. I started Steiner with $4,000, and it's amazing. I have an epic run. I really felt in a lot of ways I built a lot of the collectible business, what we see today. And there's some great collectors, and there's been some great collectible companies out there. The end for me wasn't great at Fanatics. It wasn't a pretty ending. It was a hostile takeover. It's about to buy the company back, and you know,
Ooh.
Ruben, you've read about him and the way he rolls, and he is what he is. I'm okay. Like, I love the new company, Collectible Exchange, what I've created. I think it solves a bigger problem. I think people have a lot of trading cards. They have a lot of collectibles. They need some different dynamic ways to sell them, a place to put them. We're seeing some more exchanges out there, but for collectibles, not that many. I've
Mm.
teamed up with eBay, which has really enabled me to have some enormous platform to be able to buy people's collections, consign them, and sell. And then Star Stock to be able to do that with the trading cards, which now my cards on Star Stock are on eBay. Not to dwell on the Fanatics thing, because he's a really bright guy and he's done some really cool things. It just wasn't probably cool at the end of Steiner, but I'm grateful. Like, the Steiner name lives on. I think people know what that seal and what Steiner meant. It was a lot of that product that I created, which was legendary, I think, continues to live on, and it's meaningful. And
Mm.
and the Steiner brand still keeps going, which is great. And now I'm moving to the next phase of my life, which is great. So I would have liked to have kept my name. It would have been a good thing
Sure.
for me, for
Yeah.
my head. But
Yeah.
life will throw you a bunch of curveballs,
Mm.
and not everything works out exactly the way you want. But listen, as far as my career, I'm like so grateful. And one message I would say to people that are listening, like, sometimes the worst things that you think happen to you, you do have to find the silver lining. You have to fall almost in love with some really bad shit that will happen to you, and
Mm.
it'll bring you to something even greater than what you ever thought you could even do. And that's kind of like what I'm doing now. I didn't know if I had this in me. I'm a little older. I think it's never too late to turn on your entrepreneurial spirit, by the way. I don't care what
Yeah.
age you are. What I love about the young, what I see with the young ones called Generation Z or even younger, their entrepreneurial spirit is insane. I
Mm.
mean, I've seen 14, 50-year-olds grinding, hustling. It makes me feel like normal, because that's how I was as a kid, but I was like the weird kid on the street.
Mm.
And now I see this like almost like a regular thing, where a lot of young kids are grinding, hustling, using the internet, whether it be trading cards, and there's so many different variants. I love it. So I'm feeling I love the business, and I love the position that business is in and the hands that it's in. I trust the young ones with this industry and business to take it, make it better, make it bigger. I like what I did. Hopefully I set the tone a little bit, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving what the kids and what some of the younger people are driving this business to be. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff, right? We're walking around the National and we're seeing 12-year-olds walking around with like $500,000 worth of cards in their Zion
That's what I'm
case.
talking
It's
about,
like,
and I love it. Good for
yeah.
that, man. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm not going to lie. I haven't spent 3 full days. I mean, 12, 14 hours a day at the National, and at every one of those nighttime card swapping. I'm
Mm.
like, I had nothing really to do in there. Just taking it in. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is unbelievable. These kids, man. I'm like, I just wish I could kind of jump in here and like talk to these kids a little bit more. But I loved it. I mean, I love what was going on at nighttime. I love the National where that is gone. I think it's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
I think the National should be better. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been a fan of the collaboration of the industry. We all need to get together a few days, peace out a little bit, get along, not kill each other, and love, get behind what we're doing and
Sure.
share ideas. And I felt like the young ones I felt like the National night was just off the charts, man. It was just so great. It was great.
Yeah, no, it was they were great. Those trade nights were
Yeah,
amazing. Not to harp on the Fanatic side of it, but
yeah.
I do want to get your perspective, since you had this kind of hostile takeover, like you mentioned. Like, what do you think about how Fanatics has done with your brand and what they purchased from you over the past 3 or 4 years? Are you happy with it? Are you disappointed in what the direction they've gone, how they've dealt with it? Just curious on.
I mean, I look at first of all, I mean, it is amazing. Some of the ball he's got balls. I mean, some of the
Mm,
things he's done is outrageous, and I like that part of him. But he hasn't done much with Steiner, which is disappointing. I felt like
mm,
when we're in these negotiations, he could have done more with Steiner. He could have worked me in and kept the part of Steiner alive, and still not gotten in the way of Fanatics. Now, maybe this early on, now he's done some of that kind of thing with other companies, but my problem with him is more on the trading card side. I think there's a
mm.
lot of conflicts. I think there's a lot of monopoly stuff that he doesn't allow fair trade. I think that he's not giving everybody a fair chance to get the cards. He's dictating who gets the cards and where they sell the cards. Like I got an issue with that. Like I've never, no matter how good whatever it is I had, I always shared it with the hobby, and I never ever discriminated against people that didn't buy a lot from me or were solely going to sell it to certain places or not. And I feel like it's very controlling, manipulative, and that's not how the business should be set up.
Mm.
And I think at some point it's going to be a problem
Right.
because it's crazy how some of these card shops came and get a set of cards or whatever. It's crazy. And then also he's overproducing. On top of make matters worse, he's cutting a lot of people out, but then he's overproducing. And then people now, a lot of young kids are realizing like, wow, these cards are like worthless, and they thought they were worth like lots of money. And people, it's really important when you're creating collectibles, particularly in the card industry, that you print not enough.
Right.
You don't want
Right.
closeouts. You don't want to have too much. I want
Mm.
people scampering to find a project that I did. I want people like dying. How do you get this card? And what's happening is that he's overproducing because he's trying to make a number. And I think a
Mhm.
couple of the card companies are doing that.
Yeah.
So on the collectible end, I felt like at the end at Steiner, even like I felt like sitting around and signing 2,000 items was not like great as far as somebody investing in something and hope it's going to be worth some down the road.
Mhm.
That's not a great formula. You've got to go produce something and maybe not have enough. So somebody buying a Tom Brady helmet for $2,500 is not a formula that's going to work. If you're never making money on that, Tom Brady is not Michael Jordan. See, the thing with Michael Jordan is, and he's an anomaly, but you mentioned Michael on the street of Asia, Hong Kong, you know who you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You mentioned Tom, it's like, Tom who? And
That's
the Tom
Brandon, that's
on the
actually a
road.
good point. I had the opportunity to travel a lot overseas in my career, and I've asked people about Tom Brady, and a lot of people don't know who he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people,
A lot
and
don't.
even for that matter, even Wayne, it's Wayne Gretzky, a little
Yeah.
more, but not really. But
Hmm.
we talk about Michael or Kobe, right? They know exactly who he is in every country. So it's different. And
Mm.
that's why a Michael Jordan autograph goes for a few $1,000s. Derek Jeter is never going to sell for a few $1,000s. We're now 15 years, I think it's 9 years removed for them, 8 years. And his stuff is pretty much the same as when I did the 250,000 autographs with him. And by the way, it's not going down. His stuff is solid. You have a Derek Jeter, a GOAT, but you could buy a ball for $300, $400, $500. Okay. A jersey
Hmm.
for maybe 1,000. Okay. But to go buy a Tom Brady jersey for $3,000, like where's that going? And that's my problem. Like I think for the big guys, that big names, to sign another and get these things priced right, so there is room to go up. It's fun. You got to have. I always think with Jeter, I always did a cheap 8x10. So little Johnny, who's 12 years old, can buy this thing for $100.
Yeah, it's approachable.
Nobody think that you got to think a little bit like getting a collectible in a kid's hand. You got a 50-year customer, a kid that's 10. This is my fear with the trading card business. You have kids that are 10, 15 years old that are buying a lot of cards, spending their bar mitzvah money. And then they're realizing that their portfolio, let's say $5,000 is only worth $2,000. I'm looking at that kid saying, I got a customer for 50 years. That 15-year-old gets into what I'm into. He's my customer for 50 years. At Steiner, I always looked at that. At Collectibles Exchange, I look at that. I mean, what business can you be in to get a kid at 15 and he becomes your customer forever? But we're blowing it. Like, stop overproducing, stop overcharging, and let everybody be able to get the cards.
Have you been, speaking of overproducing, have you been following that Topps Now triple LeBron, Curry, KD? They produced, I think was it 580,000 of those cards?
After they made it look like it was only going to be one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the scam. See, that's the scam. Oh, look at this one card. We failed to mention the other 549,000 of them. I'm like, come on, like where's that going? And it's not fair. Like, just produce one of them, maybe do a limited edition of 23 or the number of that player. It's just 23, and then Steph Curry's number. That maybe all in all, there's 100 of them. Now you got people scampering. Now you got something that's great. But no, you got to produce 500,000 of them. And it drives me crazy. Like, why? Like, can't you see the big picture? Because the leagues are killing. They want royalties. They want all this money. And instead of thinking about building the business, you got to think about it's what you make versus what you build. I always look at business like there's what I'm going to make versus what I'm going to build. And if you don't have a compromise of those two things, I mean, you got to make money, but you got to build. If your people and principles are superseded by ego and money, you're never going to be around long. And that's what I worry about this trading card run. It's such a great opportunity to build. Instead, there's greed and ego. When ego and money supersede people and principles, let the people have it. Let them have fun. I love the fact when people come to me and say, Brent, I ripped you off. I bought this Derek Jeter game used bat for $2,000, and now it's worth $20,000. I'm like, great. And no, I love it. I sold it to you with the intent that it was hopefully going to go up or at least maintain good value.
Sure.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
Now the customer for life, though.
Right.
Exactly.
So Brandon, let's talk about Collectible Exchange for a minute. Just kind of turn the chapter, like the current business. So
I got on a rant there.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's all good.
That's all right.
That was interesting information.
You're not the first person to say that.
What is Collectibles Exchange? How is it different from like eBay or what you did before at Steiner?
There's two things. I mean, first of all, I'm just partners with everyone. So I have people bringing their collections and consigning with me. I don't think the auction game is a good game anymore. There's too many auctions out there, and it's a little bit played out, and people are not getting market value on these auctions. People that have a lot of money, am I going to stay up 5 hours tonight to go bid on just the average thing? No. Maybe on something incredible, maybe I will. But on the average stuff, no. I give people an opportunity to come in with their stuff, which a lot of it is pretty good, above average. And we'll sell the tough stuff. And I'm building these little micro stores for them. So now I have a store for them that we come up with an agreeable market price and stay with that price, which is a fair price. So that's a big part of what Collectible Exchange is. Now I've created a partnership with eBay that's proprietary. That's a big marketing play. And it made me a partner, which I'm very grateful. They took an interest in what I'm doing. So everything they have on my site goes on eBay as well. Same thing with StarStock, by the way. All my cards on StarStock are now on eBay, and they help me market it. And particularly with the eBay live show, they're really getting behind all that. On the secondary thing is, when I was about to buy Steiner back, I was doing a partnership with a company called Legends, which is actually a competitor of Fanatics. And they do all these different platforms. Ohio State, Michigan, the Yankees, Cowboys. They do the hospitality. They do a whole bunch of things, actually, Legends. And so now I have access to build the collectible platforms on those sites, Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan. So now I'm able to go on their platforms that they're controlling, Indy, drag racing. And now I'm building proprietary partnership with them, building out collectibles for Michigan, which is unbelievable, winning a championship. Go Blue, they're going crazy up there. Syracuse, I do Villanova. And the difference between now and Steiner is that I'm more partners with them, and the school is in more control of building out this platform and giving up what they want to give, and they're making more of the money. And they get the knowledge and experience of what I've done as far as taking down stadiums and selling and putting together team deals. I mean, I started the team deal collectibles with Yankee Steiner, and then did the Red Sox, Cubs, Notre Dame, Alabama, the Cowboys, and so on. So it's not anything complicated for me. I could do it, but the difference is I have a nice small company, 15 full-time people, and so when I do these partnerships, they get me, because the best thing you get with me, and I think with these collectible partnerships, to do stuff that's really weird and different for the customers, is what we don't know. If you're going into these collectible relationships with a cookie cutter mindset, it's boring. I think, by the way, to go back to the cards, I think there's a lot of creative shit out there, by the way. There's some very creative cards being done in sets, and I appreciate that. And there's more to be done, so it seems. But I think on the collectibles, it's gotten a little flat. So my goal is to go out and get underneath some of these platforms and really pull out some really cool stuff that a lot of these teams have in their archives and everything else, to kind of get a little bit of a boost to collectibles.
One of the pieces that I really like that I picked up on with Collectible Exchange is that you set a price, but it's a fair price, right? We see a lot of kind of these buy now options, and these cards are just obnoxiously priced, and they're just almost there as like a trophy case to like show off my collection. But a card that's worth, $5,000 is listed on there for $250,000. So I think stay true to that fair price, and I think you'll be successful.
I think I love the word you use, is fair. Like, be fair, be smart. Let the customer have a little advantage. My thought is like, I want the customer to have a little advantage. Let's a little upside. I mean, we're not buying drugs that are going to solve cancer. We're not buying the automobile where maybe you get to work every day. This is all like fun, privileged stuff. And it's got to be fun, and there should be an upside for the customer. So, a little, common sense has to be common practice. You have to have a little bit of some insight to reality, which means you have to do a little work and research and see what these things are really worth. And with me, in my case, I've created a lot of things over the years. So I know where a lot of those things started. There was a time when I actually dictated how the market went. I dictated what a player got. That's how much control I had of the market, which was crazy. Players said, "Well, how do you know how much I get?" I said, "Because it's going to be what I tell you you're going to get." And now the market is it was a fun little period, by the way. But now the market is kind of set up, and people can see based on the team, based on the city, based on certain parameters about how things are valued. But I think we have a lot of players that make mistakes that they overvalue. And the difference between making your collectibles affordable with room to grow means you can make money for years and years to come. When Mariano Rivera came in my office one day, he was about to break the save record, and he told me he wanted to get a price increase. And I said, it's funny you coming in for that. I was going to call you up and tell you we're going to decrease your price.
Whoa.
I thought he was going to fall off the chair. Like, what? I said, listen, you want to increase your price, which what every athlete does. I want to decrease your price to say thank you for the support. Thank you for following me to bring me to this record. The difference of the price that I want to charge is you signing for another hour and a half. And you're going to sign X amount of autographs. You're still going to make the same amount of money. You're going to work an extra hour. But the message to the fans is gratitude and being grateful. And as it turns out, he ended up making like 20, 30% more than we ever even thought he was going to make by lowering the price. He actually agreed to that. And like, that's that kind of strategy. Like, people appreciate that. Like, so a ball for this record breaking to be less than what you normally pay for a regular signed ball. Yes. And people appreciated that.
That's great. I kind of want to switch gears because of all these, you're bringing up like just great business advice, right? And you're talking about like all these deals that you've done in the past, and our audience, we bring a lot of actually business to this show. We try to bring it up like whenever we can, and the audience responds well to it. So I want to ask you, what would be some good like sales advice that you would give the listener, whether they're going after a prospect, they're trying to convince their boss of something, or even trying to convince their spouse of something? Like, what would be like your top two like pieces of advice when it comes to like getting a deal done?
Well, I'm just about to launch my fourth book. So anybody listening, please go to Collectible Exchange and go to my book. It's free. Just pay for shipping. And if you're a young entrepreneur, you got to read either the business playbook or you got to have balls. They give you so many great little tips that I've been doing since I'm 10 years old. And anything in the book is so digestible. I call it snackable content that you could digest in a minute and put it in play. It's not one of those books like, it makes sense, but how the hell am I ever going to do it? But to answer your question, first of all, what's important to you has got to be important to me. I think if you have a real relationship with a woman, your partner, your husband, whatever, what's important to them has to be important to you. And what's important to you has to be important to them. And I think that you got to really listen to your customer to understand that value proposition. And most importantly, understand it's not who you know, what you know, but what you know about who. You got to do the work. If you got a really big customer that you're trying to lure in, you got to do the work to know who they are and what they're about and what's important to them. You know, I think it's really important. I think the other most important thing is spend a little less than you take in. When you get into problems with, even though you may be making money, cash flow is always king, particularly in the early stages of your business. So make sure you're always spending a little less than what you're taking in. So you're not making decisions based on you being desperate because you don't have enough money. But you're making decisions based on doing the right thing, and you're doing the right thing for the customer. And then the other thing is tell the freaking truth. Just be honest. It's okay to share your knowledge and tell the truth, even sometimes when it hurts. I always tell people, like, man, I can't believe how many interviews I did for my early days when this business was like nothing in the 90s. And I'm explaining to people how this all works. And sometimes it was painful because it didn't put me in the best light or wasn't always good for the business. But this is how it works. This is the truth of it. So tell the truth. Like, you know, the truth is an amazing marketing tool. And it's amazing how people use it. But when you watch some of the great commercials, it's sometimes just people telling the truth because, you know, you relate to it and you go, that is hysterical. That's exactly how I feel. And I've been getting away with it for years. People say, boy, Brady, you're a marketing guru. Like, no, I'm not. I just see the truth for what it is. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid of that vulnerability of putting myself out there to say, like, I don't know what the frick I'm even talking about. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, interviews I told, like, I don't know how this autograph thing works. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm doing it.
That's good advice. So, Brandon, what about sales in general? So I'm thinking, like, we have the goats of sports, right? Who do you think are the goats of sales that we can learn from? I know one of the ones that I personally follow is Zig Ziglar. I listened to, you know, a lot of his stuff and I thought he was great, taught me a lot of things. Who are some of your mentors or people?
Zig Ziglar is amazing. I mean, you can't go wrong following him. Harvey McKay's been I'm a Harvey McKay disciple. You know, Swim with the Sharks is amazing. Ken Blanchard is a friend, and the 1 Minute Manager. He's written 20-something books. You can't go wrong with him. That's a no-brainer. Ken Blanchard has sold a gazillion books. Harvey McKay has sold a gazillion books, and I've been part of his roundtable. Those are great ones. And then even a simple book like, I know people don't realize the name Mark McCormick is really the godfather of all this business. He's the one who started sports marketing and started IMG. So everything you didn't learn in Harvard Business School is a no-brainer. And the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends, Influence People, used to be mandatory reading for every one of my employees. It's
amazing book. I love it.
We've talked about that book a few times on this show.
And then here's the last book. And you know, I do these sales seminars. I'm just like mandatory. The number one sales book of all time, I don't know if you guys know this, is Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, gee, that's the second book we
also recommended that one.
It's not Grow Rich and Think. No. It's Think and Grow Rich. If you think and you actually are diligent and are curious, you could then first maybe get rich. And
there we go.
I hope the audience is like seeing a thread here. Successful people, you start to see the same books.
The same books.
I will add one more thing to this, and I'll say this. If you really want to get to an extraordinary level, check your barometer of curiosity and enthusiasm. Your level of curiosity is everything. You must maintain a 10-year-old's level of curiosity, which I still have. I still a dog without a bone. I know nothing. I'm trying to learn everything. Particularly in this trading card business. I own a trading card website, Star Stock. I know nothing. I'm learning everything. When I'm at that national, I'm talking to as many kids as I can, trying to understand. Now, like, oh, Brandon, no, forget that. No one cares. Enthusiasm, enthusios, the root word is to be with God. You must have enthusiasm behind your curiosity. And part of that is having faith that if you go and you learn and you become knowledgeable and you ask the right questions, that the good Lord up there, or whoever you believe in, will take you to the right place and you'll have success. So having faith or enthusiasm behind this level of curiosity gets you to an incredibly high level of success.
Excellent. I love it.
that.
So Brandon, I had a question about networking. So you're obviously great at sales, but I had a networking question. And this is almost like an example. All right. So we've got a show, we've got a podcast, and we try to reach out to people all the time. What would be your advice? Let's pretend that we wanted to get Mariano Rivera on here to talk about autographs and sports cards and something like that. How would you go about doing it?
I mean, it's a simple question. It's a simple answer. I'm not a networking or anything. I don't know. Who's walking in a room and start meeting people haphazardly? It's not who you know, what you know, but what you know about who. And targeting, I would say, like, what the focus are you talking about? Like, if you could target everything in business and sales and in networking is about targeting. It's finding something you're really interested in, finding somebody or a company you really want to do business with, and learning everything there is about it, and then approaching them with an idea that maybe can help with a value proposition. I'm not calling you up because I want to do business with you. I'm calling you up because I have an idea that can help you.
How can I help you?
I've never
How can I
called
add
somebody
value?
up and say, I really want to do business with that. I got an idea I think it save you money, or I think it can make you money, or can help you. Who's turning that call down?
Nobody.
No,
But
no
you
one
have
is.
to do the work. Everybody wants the view, but nobody wants the climb. It's like at the end, you got to do the work. You have to do the work in order to go get to the people that you ultimately want to get to. And I walk into more people's offices that I coach. I mean, where's your list of the people that you ultimately would be game changer? I call it GAP, game altering play. Where is the list of people that if you met and did business with, your whole business would change? They don't even have a list. So how do you expect your business to have that game altering change with an amazing opportunity to meet this person X or Y? Well, you don't even know who they are. Stop for a minute and think, who is the best person that could be on this pod that would completely change this pod and take it to another level? Not that you guys' pod isn't great. I'm sure it is.
Sure.
And I'm loving this conversation, but what guest would it be? So when you get into a conversation with Brandon, you say, look, I know everything about this one player. I know you know him, and it would mean everything. And by the way, we're going to sign 10 of his cards when he's on the show, and it's going to go because he's big on his foundation, or da 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 da. But it's like people keep always asking for things, but there's no connection to why I'd want to do it.
Such good advice.
I am
That
such
really
a targeter. It's like it's a guy that's single that's looking for a girl, and he goes to a bar with a bunch of married people. Like, why would you do that? Like, the bar has all the good single, cute girls and guys.
Yeah.
Right? You're targeting because you want to meet somebody. Like, same thing, like target, and then you find out who's going to be at that bar. And then you ask some friends if they know who that girl is or who that guy is. And right? That's what you got to do in business. I'm a tremendous targeter. And when you walk in my office ever, I will give you that list of game altering plays. I call it
GAP.
Yeah.
Huh. Man,
GAP
I
and
love
targeter.
that. It's like not even, you don't like, you want to decide on what guest you need, but you haven't done the homework to understand why you need that guest.
Exactly.
You create that playbook.
Walks up and says, look, I'd love to meet you, but I like to say, I want to sleep with you tonight. Like, instead of saying, listen, I've been watching you for 6 months. You're amazing. I saw you in the course. I saw you do this. I heard you did that. I know everything about you, and I'd like to get some coffee with you. You got a much better chance of scoring than walking up and saying, look, I really like to sleep with you tonight. I mean, right?
That really says it all. Wow.
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah.
Target, man.
It does. It made me think of, well, you even mentioned the Napoleon Hill book, right? In the book, The Secret's Out There and all that. And it's all like you people aren't lucky, they kind of create their own luck. Like, this is all part of it, right? You need to be prepared. So when your moment comes, you've done all the research and you're ready to execute.
I mean, for the most part, at least if the opportunity is going to come with one of these golden nuggets that is going to be a game changer for you, you want to be ready, right? I mean, there's always something that comes out of the box you never thought, never expected. But, I went to a wedding last week. I wasn't crazy about going to it, but it was a friend of mine, and I like the family and everything. But as it turns out, the girl's marrying this business development guy for a really big sports company.
Whoa.
And like, the night before at the rehearsal day, he's like, man, I've been dying to meet you, man. I got this great business idea. I'm like, this is going to end up being one of the best business development little trips I went on, right?
And you didn't really want to go.
They want to go. So, things like that happen. And you can, but when you build a reputation for somebody that is open-minded and is looking to do things a little differently, that those kind of things can come to you. But at the beginning stages, telling the truth and getting tactical with focus. I think that most people don't succeed early on in business because it's survival of the flexible, not survival of the fittest. You've got to be flexible. You got to get your head on a swivel, make some alterations and changes. And two, I mean, one of the big reasons, they don't think it's going to work out because they don't have a plan that they really believe in, and they're not targeting, they're not focused enough on a specific target that's got a whole bunch of different ends and angles. So when they call people like me for help, or anybody, they're not even asking for anything specifically. Like, I don't want to help some brand, I need help. Like, what does that mean? It's like, can you set me up with somebody? I don't know. Like, come to me and say, do you know somebody at Amazon? Do you know somebody at eBay? Do you know somebody at Twitter? You know, whatever. But they come to me with these random, wide open, I don't know. Like, and I think the more focused you can get with your asks. So I think the people that really do well, the people that ask for help, the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
all
true.
right. What about, let's back to the audience. And this could be a life lesson as well, but there's a lot of negotiations that happen in sports cards. They happen in life. You're buying a house, you're buying a car. What advice do you have around negotiating and thinking about the card collectors, right? They're at a trade show, they're at the National, they're at trade night. Is there, the one thing I think of that I've heard is you never want to be the first person to throw out a price. Then you're at a disadvantage. Like, do you agree with that? Is that good advice? What do you think?
I'm a big, I know what you want. You know, a lot of people, they go to negotiations. Like, I know what my bottom line number is. So if I throw a number out and that person's thinking it's the same number and it matches up, just get the hell, leave the carnival, move on.
Yeah.
But, I think that's a really important element, is knowing what you want and having a list of your most important things you want out of whatever it is you're selling. And the most important thing you want to get is not whether you put the price out or not, is finding out what's most important to the person you're selling to. So you can make sure you tackle his, whether it's high grade, whether it's a volume of cards, whether he's starting a collection, so you can help him attack what his main problem is. Because once somebody's main problem is resolved, they kind of let their hair down, and probably you can win on a lot of your points, I think. So I think that's really important. I think, I mean, there's a, if you go to BrandonSteiner.com, by the way, and my daughter thinks I'm an idiot, by the way, all my kids think I'm an idiot. So, but she actually,
so does mine.
She said, Dad, I got to tell you that 22 laws of negotiating, that was really good. I've been giving out to some of my friends. You get that free when you go sign up on BrandonSteiner.com.
All right.
If you go on YouTube, I think there's an hour negotiating thing I did for my company like 10 years ago that gives you every last bit of every negotiating skill that I ever had. So that was kind of cool as well. But
awesome.
Negotiating is really something that I like to practice a lot. I think it's our art in practicing. It's really listening is really, really key. Figuring out what the other person wants more than figuring out what you want, and helping them get what they want as quick as you can. Before you get the price, figure out what they really want. Because once somebody shows their cards that they really want it, then just go out then with the price you want, but they really want it. The question is, can you figure out how much they really want it, and whether you have leverage now because they got to have it, they're not going to walk away. There are sometimes I'm negotiating and I know I really want it, and I'm gonna be flimsy about the price. Yeah. So you want to figure that out, or if somebody's just shopping. And then the other thing is, you can't sell one, sell three. So if you can't get the price on one, because they're kind of, they're really working you hard, and then say, listen, I'll give you this price if you buy two other things. And now when you add up all the marbles, you've made 3 sales instead of 1. Stu Leonard's, who's a great grocery, a retail chain here in New York. I went to hear him speak. The original owner, I heard him spoke, I think it was 40 years ago. I was in my 20s. And he goes, if you can't sell one, sell 3. And you go into a store and there was the price for one thing of detergent. That was one price. But if you bought 3, you save money. And I think that, I'm always thinking about packaging. Packaging is a beautiful thing. So when you're driving hard on a really good card that you like and you want to get a certain price, hey, buy these other 2 cards, pick these 2 up. I'll give you a good deal on them. Now I sold 3. When you add up all the margins, you did well.
Excellent. Brandon, this is, it's turned into a business masterclass. So, just to kind of land the plane here, you actually mentioned your website, BrandonSteiner.com. I'll put it in the show notes and the description as well. Is there any other place that you want to let the audience know about, or how to get in touch with you, or anything like that?
I'm a religious poster. I share everything I'm thinking, all my content on LinkedIn in particular. I love it. You got to follow me because I'm over the number, but Facebook, like me. I just do a lot of good business advice tips. If you go to brandonsteiner.com, speaking, you'll see I've written over 2,500 blogs. By the way, for anybody out there that struggles in school, like you're not struggling any more than I did, but yet I'm half illiterate and I still wrote 4 books now and 2,500 blogs. You figure it out, man. If you got because usually if you can't write and read, the brain comes up with some really good ideas. You have somebody find somebody to help you write the stuff.
I love it.
So, that's how I've operated. But there's some really good blogs on there that I was just going through them last week. I was a little bored. I was on a plane ride and I was like, wow, I can't believe I wrote this. And some of that stuff really would stand the test of time. And you can just look it up, type in negotiating, health, fitness, whatever. I've interviewed some really cool people. Listen, I'll leave you with this note, and I think it's everything. First of all, if you're out there, you're in the card business, it's a really fascinating industry. Obviously be careful, but what's your rate of growth? Just am I growing? It's like, when you were a kid, you put your back against the wall, see if you grew an inch. And it was like every day you were doing that to see how tall you're going to be. Well, you got to do that with your rate of growth as far as, your business skills and personal skills, your health skills. Like you got to have a rate of growth that's going in the right direction. If you do, you're going to be extraordinary one day. Because it all add up. A lot of people are flat. They're not working on getting better. They're not trying to figure out different ways to look at business and do different things with different people. And you're headed to mediocrity. If you have a rate of growth, even if some of the things you're doing that's failing, you're still in the right direction. You got to have a rate of growth, and growth does come from winning and losing.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah. Grow a little bit every year. It compounded. All of a sudden, you're 300 times better than you were, a few years ago. Brandon, thank you so much. It's an honor to talk to you. A true legend in the space.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And love what you guys are doing with this show. It's amazing. Like when I think back that there's actually a podcast on trading cards. When what it took just to have a 3-minute segment on our show talking about collectibles 25 years ago. It's
Go
amazing.
Figure.
Businesses come and keep going, man. Keep promoting, keep telling the truth.
You got it.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Brandon.
Always will. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.